AtheistAntidote. I have come to the uncomfortable and highly disturbing conclusion that you are not satirizing Christianity. That is disappointing, as it would have been much more funny. You are charismatic, you're eloquent, you put in some effort not to sound moronic, yet underneath the bluster and the provocative language are the same vacuous, worn-out arguments I've heard 1,000 times. Here's a brain teaser for you. What do all these statements have in common? Without God there can be no good and evil. Without God there is no meaning to existence. Without God there is no holiness. The answer is that they all fall foul of Hume's Guillotine. One of David Hume's best insights was to argue that a moral conclusion cannot follow from non-moral premises. Put more generally, you can't infer something normative from something descriptive, or in simple terms, you can't say how things ought to be because you know how things are. You are inferring that good and evil, holiness and meaning derive from God, which breaks Hume's law and runs into the Euthyphro dilemma, as I'll explain in a minute. But we already know what all these things are and where they come from. They are all words. Good and evil don't exist in the same way this laptop does. They exist in the sense that we assign them to different actions. But the very fact that different people at different times attach them to different actions shows clearly that they are not absolute. Like it or not, they're all relative terms. But think of it this way. If good and evil are not relative, they must necessarily be arbitrary. To say something is good because and only because God commands it is to equate divine command with good, which is a false equivocation, and good becomes meaningless and arbitrary. The only way good has any meaning is if it means something like that which maximizes human welfare, and that has nothing to do with God, even if God happens to say things which are good. Now, you said at the start of the video that atheists must have relative ideas about what makes things good or evil, but so must you. For you, good is relative to what God says, or more accurately, what some men wrote in a book. For me, good is what maximizes the welfare of individuals. I invite you to tell me which version of good is better, and explain why.